Hey everyone, welcome to another session of Conversations with Courageous Cancer Warriors. And I am so excited for our guest. We have Miss Whitney Walker, who's a licensed marriage and family therapist, a recovery coach, and a spiritual guide. How cool is that? Whitney, thank you so much for being here today.
You are so welcome, Lori. Thank you for having me.
So I'm just so excited for this conversation and to learn about you. So what is it that you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Well, so I know your show is about survivors, and I'm licensed as a therapist. Yet I also work strongly in a spiritual sense. I work as a spiritual coach, also a recovery coach. So I'm really drawn in my work to the idea of those who are really kind of coming back from what I might call, detachment from the self, whether it's through a physical illness or an addiction, the times where we really disconnect from our true essence, from ourselves because we're suffering, whether it's from a physical illness or from an addiction. Those things lead us away from ourselves because we start to get really caught up in fear and suffering, right? So I love the survivor work because there's nothing like that. It's sort of the phoenix coming back from the ashes. It's that triumph. It's that recognition of how strong, courageous, and powerful we are. So I definitely focus on that in my work, and have experienced that in my own life, as someone who has recovered from substance abuse addiction and an eating disorder and many other forms of various traumas and struggles, and now I find myself being able to help others
I
heal.
love that. I love that. And you nailed it when that Phoenix rising, right? So many of us have had an experience in life that has really stopped us in our tracks.
Mhm.
So, that's definitely something that you went through with your own recovery and now with your clients. So, what is one takeaway that you can give us that had you go through this really traumatic time, yet you sit here with us and you're positive and you're happy and it looks like you're loving life? What was the one key thing for you that really made a difference?
Well, I think, that's why I really align my work more spiritually, is because, before, when I got drawn into the world of addictions, as so many others, I was trying to alleviate something that was painful, trying to soothe something or to escape. I say that addictions are one of two things or both. You're either trying to soothe something that hurts or trying to escape something that you don't want to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And being in that place, again, you're very detached from yourself. And so to me, what the biggest difference was when I finally hit my bottom with my
Mm-hmm.
use. I'll never forget it. I had a full-blown panic attack because I was addicted to uh, Vicodins, taking many a day, and I was coming off of them, and I just had a full-blown panic attack and had to pull my car over, and I was in a parking lot, and I just dropped to my knees, and I just started sobbing. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like this really sort of recognition that I rejected myself, like down to the bone. Like it was just this awareness that I didn't, I couldn't accept who I was, is what I felt. And at that moment, I really kind of felt, what it was that was in there, that I wasn't just how I looked or how I was perceived or any of these things, that there was something in there that was longing so much to be seen and embraced. And that was really my bottom. Like I literally heard like a thud, like an echoing at that moment that was like, I got to find my way back from this. And that journey was the journey and discovery of, my true essence, myself, and learning how to embrace that rather than to reject it. So, I say that that's my takeaway because, as unfortunate as these things are that happen to us, the worst things that ever happened to us so often end up being the greatest because they unveil something, they uncover something that otherwise we may never have done. So I encourage people to, if you're finding yourself in this space of desperation or hopelessness, or you're, just really caught up in an illness or addiction, remember that there's a lot of people out there who will want to connect with you. and share their stories and help you out of that place, that there is so much hope and that your whole life awaits you. I think that's it, because the life that I have now, the experience I have now, I didn't think I could, I
Mm.
didn't think I could ever learn to be excited about who I was, to be someone that was worth being around, that was worth speaking and helping others. I didn't think I had that. And it took going to that place to discover that. So, just to anyone is to remember, like, you never know, you never know what can happen and what's around the corner if you just allow yourself to kind of look within a little and feel the pain, because you know that the pain can transform you as you start to heal.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the way that you framed that because it's so well said. Um, so many levels, right? Like I know that a lot of people that are listening have undergone surgery. They've had some trauma that might have been disfiguring. Like there's so much that we deal with both emotionally with that as well as the physical component. And part of the conversation is learning to love yourself again for who you are now, right? And like the forgiveness component that comes along with that too, of whether you made bad decisions or it, oh, it's so convoluted that I'm literally sitting here, I'm lost in my own thoughts around it, because we all struggle with forgiving ourselves over how the paths that we chose. Like sometimes we don't recognize where a path is going to lead. And so what you said is so important. And so I guess that's my next question, especially with what you've experienced in your life. Like how did you forgive yourself for what you went through?
It took a while, and that's another thing I would encourage people to recognize is it doesn't happen overnight. The analogy I use, specifically for addiction, but again for any sort of healing, is you get so far away from yourself that when you hit that bottom, it's like you hit that tethered point where, you're always tethered to your true essence, is what I believe. They call it like the silver cord. I don't know if you've heard that term, but you
No,
can
I love
get
that.
really far away through addiction, through all these means where you detach from yourself, you're seeking things outside of yourself, but then you hit this point and the only way you can go is back towards yourself. So it's like this long walk back to you. And it's with each step, you start to recognize what it means to embrace yourself, to forgive yourself, to see yourself, because there's only two options in life. You either decide that you're not worthy or you decide that you are unconditionally worthy,
Yeah.
and each choice we make every day honors one of those paths. And, the more that you walk that path of unconditional worthiness, you just start to see that you, just like everyone else, are brilliant, are magnificent, divine, all of these things. And it's so much more pleasant and wonderful to embrace who you are and celebrate who you are, the same way that you would want to do for a friend or a child or anyone else that you see their light, right? We can see other people's light. So often we want to encourage and inspire others and say, oh my gosh, you're so great. But to ourselves, we're like, are you, are you good enough? But when you start to say, yeah, and if you exalt yourself and embrace yourself, that's, our light starts to shine. And the more that our light shines, we allow others to say, hey, I wonder if I have a light too. And then we all start lighting up, and then it's just really cool and a much more pleasant experience of life. Because when you look around, or when I look around, my work is all based on the idea that I see a world where people are so dismissive of themselves. They're so much more likely to find fault rather than glory. And I don't think it has to be that way, And again, that's why I see it's a gift to go through a major illness or, injury or addiction. As unpleasant as it is, it makes you see like deep down what's really in there, and you bring it forth, and it's this incredible, magical thing. So yeah.
So true. And I love that. How did you just describe that? Oh,
Oh boy. Which part?
it was right there in my head. That the gift of it, that it brings you from the depths, and then it brings you to your divine. I think that's how you said that, and it's so true. And that's why it's why people love that flower. My brain is just not working today. Hello, tamoxifen. This is what happens here. For those of you who are on this really nasty little drug, welcome. Thank you for understanding. Um, like the phoenix is just also like the flower for the yoga. What's that flower? The
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 lotus
lotus
flower. Am I
flower.
right? There it is. There.
Yes, right. And it's the same thing, that the lotus flower grows in the murkiest of waters, and gives it the most beautiful flowers. And I would love to hear now. So you've gone through this whole, you've lived so much life, right, up until this point. And then what had you become a spiritual guide? Because I find that so amazing.
Well, my work kind of turned more towards the spiritual more recently, actually. I would say that I've always been spiritually inclined. I didn't call it that, but I was very much always very mindful of instinct, intuition. I was always very open to any sort of ideas about whether it's angels or ancestors trying to communicate with us that are with us. I've always been open to that and thought, that sounds right. It sounds accurate. Um, but then after I got licensed as a therapist and I was seeing 7-8 clients a day for a few years, and you just start to hear people's stories over and over, and you just, every person I talked to, I just had this, I wanted them to connect more with themselves, with their, what was inside their internal, their essence is the best way I can say it. And I was never that, I'm not religious, and so I wasn't really, didn't have a strong opinion about where we come from. I'm very exploratory about it, but not one way. But it just kept coming back to, I saw people's power within that they were turning away from. And to me, that's your spirit, right? That your spirituality is what you are, your beliefs, your values, what what you think, what you feel, all those things. So I started always coming back to that, whatever someone was going through, whether it was depression or anxiety or an addiction, I would, just really want them to connect back, like get back to the basics of who you are. And then, about a year ago, I was gifted a tarot deck. So that really kind of mixed, my draw towards spirit, but then also kind of utilizing energies. And because that's a big part of spiritual work is energetic work. We are energy, everything is energy. And there's energies that we can't see. That's my thought. Spirits, angels, all those things. And they provide great guidance for us. And so I started working with tarot, which was a huge surprise to me. I didn't think that that was a part of my path or my story, but it was, because someone gave it to me and I said, okay, guess I'm going to try this. And I would do readings for people, and just this beautiful story would come through about it was like their potential, like their energies, their truth, their essence was coming through. And I would love to share it with them, because it would show just how brilliant and beautiful their life can be and wants to be if they just open themselves again to their true nature, to their true selves, that is so magnificent. So, whenever I'm working with anyone, I'm not the type of therapist that ever has like one modality, right? That says like, oh, this is my CBT work and we're going to just go down this path. I pull from all my bags of tricks and, just kind of offer what I see most resonates with that person, because the most important thing is that when you're working with someone as a healer, can call it a therapist, a coach, whatever it is, you're not really doing anything. You're just kind of allowing that knowing and understanding within someone to come to blossom like that lotus flower,
Yeah.
right? And we just kind of hold the space and kind of help cultivate it so that they come to their own awareness, their own knowing, their own revelations, and then really into themselves.
I love that.
Yeah. And the only thing I can think to call that is a spiritual journey, a spiritual evolving.
And I love this conversation so much, because I'm a believer that we are energy. I'm a Reiki practitioner, so like I
Oh,
believe in
awesome.
energy,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things that I have had so many experiences in my life where it's been proven time and time again that people are here with us, that like you said, that loved ones come to visit.
Mhm.
And um it's so true, and you could really get a lot of um growth, but also healing from the fact of knowing that you're never really alone, right? Like that's how I look at it. For me, it's empowering to know. And I have this, it's a very strange example, and I hope it doesn't derail our conversation today, but it's what came to mind for me. I've had multiple instances where I've been surrounded by butterflies in the middle of the ocean, right? Like it's like really weird. Like I'll never
In
forget,
real
like
life or in like a
in real
video?
life. No, in
Oh,
real life.
okay.
I
Love
was
it.
literally I was literally in the Atlantic Ocean, and from the ocean side, there was like 100 white butterflies that came and flew toward the beach, and they like went over me. And it was one of those moments in my life where I'm like, how can you not believe? How can you not believe? And
Mhm.
it once I really tapped into that for myself, I've had instances where I would feel the person's energy with me. And part of my background that I don't share a lot with people is that I'm a pathologist assistant. And what we're trained to do is, medical and forensic autopsy. And it's one of those things that for me, especially early on um, in my career, it was a gift that really was given to me early on in my career, is how I should say it, was as I was going to figure out how and why someone's loved one died, I'd always get this feeling over me that this person was with me. And I never really shared it with anybody up until the point I've had other instances where I recognized that that's exactly what they were doing. Like they were telling me like it's okay. And I remember having conversations with them, you know, I would usually have them internally because people would think I was crazy, but I'd be like, you know what, I got you. Like I'm going to take care of you today, and like and
Mhm.
I'm, we're going to all be respectful of you. And it was like they were thanking me for still acknowledging that they're a being, right? And it was one of those moments that it was my catalyst for making me pay attention. And then I've had moments where it's like you can't define it, but you just know that people are there with you, right? And so that's why I love this work that you do with the tarot cards and the coaching, and that you wrap that all in a beautiful package with also being a therapist. Like you truly are a healer. And so I would love to hear maybe of, if you're able to, an example where you have seen the most amazing transformation by using all of this in your, like, as your collaborative works together.
Yeah. Well, I think that again, a reason why I enjoy working in addiction is because you do see these incredible transformations where somebody goes from a place of not really wanting to be here or to be themselves to kind of opening themselves more um, to this idea that, maybe there could be another experience, maybe there could be another way to view themselves in life, and that maybe it doesn't have to be suffering or a fixation on the negative past and the things that have transpired and this attachment to resentment and grief and regret,
Yeah.
right? And so when you see that, it is like you see the energy change, you see like what's the transformation. And what they don't have to be an addiction. I've had so many clients where you work for a while and they tell me, they say, my family started to notice, they say, you seem so peaceful,
Hmm.
very calm. And that's the greatest compliment I could ever get, because that is an energetic transformation that's occurring, because they're going from this place of fear and rejection of the self to this softening and embrace of themselves. And, that's when they're able to slowly begin to bloom, where
Yeah.
before they're like this flower that's like not getting what it needs to bloom. I love using the analogy of plants when I work with clients, because so many people are very you know they can't connect with the idea of self-care. They're like, no, that's selfish, I can't take care of myself. But I offer, well, what about just thinking of it as nourishment? Is a plant selfish because it needs nice healthy soil, some water, some sun? Does that make it selfish? And they're like, no. I say, okay, well, how can you nourish yourself and recognize that you, just like every other living creature, need those things, deserve those things? And they're like, okay, I think I can jive with that. I think I can connect with that. And then so they start to embrace that idea of taking care of themselves, nurturing themselves, and knowing that the more that we take care of ourselves, the more we can give to others, because we can't give what we don't have, right?
Hmm.
We can't be generous and loving and truly unconditionally regard others if we don't regard ourselves that way. And that takes the selfish thing out of our head where we're like, no, I need to focus on others, not me. It's like, but you're, it's a symbiotic relationship, right? Everything is give and receive.
Mm-hmm.
Just like our relationship with plants and trees, we
Yeah.
give the CO2 and they give us back the oxygen. We can't do it just one way. It's got to
Right.
be both. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the answer to your question is that the beautiful transformations is this shift in the mental, the physical, and the being, where they come to have a new understanding that softens them and allows them to give and receive and see the beauty and necessity of both, not just one way or the other, and not that they aren't, to recognize that they're not unworthy. It's not possible. They're
Yeah.
just as worthy as everything else. And as you start to feel connected to that idea, it's a beautiful thing to see,
Yeah, I love that because I visually saw when you're in a angry, fearful state, like your energy is agitated, right?
Mhm.
So there's no way that you can be at peace. So for when you see somebody who is calm, peaceful, present in the moment, it's because you're not fighting your internal demons, right? It's like kind of like a way to describe that. So I love the fact that you combine that with plants and to give that visual that self-care is so important. You're so right. Like it's not selfish for a plant to want its basic needs met. Otherwise, it can't thrive. And one of the things that I love that you're about too, like I'm just so into you. I think it's amazing. And thank you again for being here. It's just I
Awesome.
love this conversation.
I can't wait to have you on my podcast. We can
Yeah.
keep going.
Oh, I would love that. Now I love the fact that you talk about returning to the divine feminine. I would love for you to share more about that.
Oh, yes. My favorite topic, which is one of those things that just came to me. I was, and, talk about like spiritual opening and having that presence. I'm telling you I have like some ancestors or, some angels that are very much wanting to come through me. I mean, because goodness knows I'm not the first or the only person. There's so many people that are having this too. It's this awareness that we are in a rebalancing phase of our planet in a universal timeline and a universal picture. This is a big shift we're experiencing right now on earth. And that's why so many of us are being called to do this work of the divine feminine, of bringing that energy back so we can balance. And, just to your point, Lori, what you're speaking about earlier is the exact mission of, so my website is called Women Waken, which I'm opening up into a business that's going to connect women so that they can bring together and, share resources and share gifts. Because just as you spoke to, Lori, the things you were saying about, when you kind of started to notice, I kind of feel things around me. I feel energy. And I think a lot of us start and we're like, I don't know if I can tell people about this. I don't know what it is because it's not normal. It's not, not something you usually present with. But my thought is that get ready because it's going to be the new normal. Like we've really done ourselves a disservice by not embracing our gifts that are with the unseen, that are energetic, that are so much more broad than the narrow confines that we currently keep ourselves within about what life is about. We're evolving as a species, and it's what that's going to require is to know, just as we're talking about, that we need that divine feminine that grounds us, that roots us, that allows for nourishment. Because what we're experiencing right now is human beings with a lack of nourishment. And that's why we're sick. That's why we're addicted. That's why we're suffering. And once we connect back to who we truly are, which are these beautiful, innocent, unconditionally worthy beings, man, like we're going to flourish. It's going to be cool. We're all going to be having a good time. Because right now, not many of us are having a good time.
No, there's so much turmoil, and a lot of that has to do with, you know, people. We could have such a conversation around this. I don't even want to know. I don't even know if I want to share my thought right now, but
I want to hear it so much. Please share.
I find that as people, as humans, as individuals, we have a responsibility that we need to handle our shit. And I don't usually swear, but it's like the best way that I need to say this. And so many times when people don't do that, and when you avoid it, and when you just choose to ignore it, you put the blinders on, you're like, forget about it. I'm not going to talk about it. it grows, it festers, it's in the space, it's everywhere that you see. And so part of what, speaking to you saying, right, like right now, our world is hurting because people are not willing to be responsible for their beliefs, for their actions, for all of it, right? Like I think that people are are being ostriches, right? It's an ostrich, right? That digs its hole in the sand, right?
Yep.
Like it's
I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. Just everything's
yeah.
good.
And like during trauma, like there's two kinds of people, right? You're either going to fight or you're going to bury your head in the sand, and it depends on the circumstances. We could all be both. So for me to hear that from you, it's so true, because right now our world is hurting. And it's hurting because people are not willing to stand up for their beliefs. They're not willing to do the work to get themselves healed. And they're not, like, I feel that there's a loss of community that's happening right now, that it's like us versus them. And that's why I love your divine feminine project, right? I'm going to call it a project because it's
I love
it's
it.
a big thing that we need in this world right now. We need to unify, we need to heal, we need to support each other. Like part of why as people I feel that I could stand taller now than I ever have in my life is because through my suffering, I recognized I needed community.
Mm.
And that's what you're creating for people. And I absolutely love that. And I can't wait to be a part of it because I'm inviting myself in there. Like, but like when you, without community, and that's what I find we are so missing, right? People are standing as individuals and as humans. Like look at animals, look at dogs, they live in packs, right? When you take a dog into your home, you're part of its pack. So imagine keeping them solitary and like alone and like, no, I got this, no, I got this. It just doesn't work. And
No.
that's what I hear exuding from you. Like it's so amazing and so refreshing to hear.
And Lori, it goes against our true nature. And any system that goes against its natural functioning is going to be dysfunctional. It's going to have discord. It's going to have ailments because it's not going through the system that is most natural to it. And just to your point, it's not natural for us to see ourselves as individuals because it's not true. We are not individuals. We feel that way. We have the experience of being our own autonomous being. However, just as we know, working with energy, we're all connected. We are literally one giant system, interconnected. When one of us is suffering, of all the billions of us, we all feel it. But we live this life where we're like, no, I just need to take care of me and mine. I just need to, hold my own. When I'm suffering, I just need to stuff it down and suffer in silence. But that is what creates illness in the physical and mental body, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I myself don't have much experience, with those who have had cancer, or I've never had cancer. However, it seems to me that it literally comes from blockages in the body. It comes from when you are just pushing things down so much that things are not moving freely, and they start to form this tumor of energy, that creates discord and illness.
Yeah.
And that manifests in many different ways.
Many ways.
And as soon, there are cultures, I've heard of this, there are other cultures in the world where when one person in a community or village is suffering, they bring them to the center of a circle and they all hold space for them, and they allow their suffering to be seen. They allow them to be seen in their pain, and they hold that space for them because they say, your pain is my pain.
Yeah.
We know this because we're connected, we're in community together. We don't do that. We're told that we need to just kind of suck it up, push through, and suffer in silence. And we think that makes us tough. Yet, at our essence, we're still these beautiful little beings. We're still these innocent children, honestly, all the time. But when we try to be like tough adults, then, we just get sick because we're trying to deny what we truly are and what we truly need. What we truly need is love, embrace, community. It's all true. And just that's where we're going. Like bar none, no matter, I feel like we're going there. It's inevitable, right? And we're either going to, deny it and kind of get dragged, or we can move into it beautifully and more effectively and quickly when we start to say, you know, just kind of take a look around and say, do you want to keep doing it this way?
Mhm.
You know, because another example for me that I think of a lot, you know, one is that we don't act in community, but also that we force these ideas about who we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to do. And that's also killing us. You know, I work a lot with teens and young adults, and man, you know, the pressure that they feel to go a certain way, you know, or do a certain thing. I work with teens who are suicidal because they don't think that they're going to pass their AP classes and get into a good enough college. And it just rips my heart out to think that their value and their thoughts about life are conditional on them having a certain trajectory, because otherwise they think, well, what, you know, I won't be happy. I won't get what I want. I'll be a failure in everyone's eyes. So all of these things are, you know, you just look around, you're like, well, how did we get here?
Mhm.
And how do we get out of this? Because it's not fun. Nobody wants to live that way. And life is about fun. Ultimately, it's not about suffering. That's my belief. And I think it's time to move into that and start to have fun, be healthier. And the more that we freely allow things to run through us, because your point, Lori, about trauma, you're absolutely right. People experience something and they're so scared of it because they don't know if they'll be accepted by their pain or by their experiences. They'll say, that was so awful, I can't let anybody know. So they shove it down. And we, sorry.
Hi, Bob.
My dog got excited about that.
No.
So,
Oh, there's somebody walking behind you. It's good.
yeah.
Hi, Bob.
Anyway, so yes, we're supposed to just say things when they happen, like a dog, just let it all out. But instead we stuff it all in. That creates deep held trauma, which is right.
Yeah, a little man. Oh, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's a reason why we look for energetic flow. Like you nailed it. And when you don't allow the flow to happen by not addressing the things that are problematic for you, you literally have that no longer happen in your system, right? So for me, I really believe that that's a catalyst, whether it's stress, and the flow is stopped for many different ways. So if it's emotional trauma from, you know, a lack of trust or breach of trust, or something you've experienced, or you know, stress can do it. A You know, our thoughts are so important into our well-being. That's why affirmations work, right? Like it maintains that flow that you have. And the thought that came to mind too, as I was listening to you speaking, is like, you know, those experiences when you have an encounter with somebody and you feel like you've known them forever, or it's like I've had it happen to me twice in my life where I felt an energetic pull towards somebody, right? And it's like, you can't deny that that's there. You can't deny that that's what we're made of. Our cells are energetic things, right? They're energetic organisms. You could think of them that way. So I find that this conversation is just amazing, and like it's spot on. You just nailed it. And it's really where we're headed, you know, community, love, being of service, I think it needs to add in there too. And that to me, you know, is a way to express love, is really where we're headed as a society. I agree with you on that for sure.
Yes. And I love that you just use the word deny. Because, you know, just as you said, people have these experiences. Again, that's my purpose for Women Waken, is to stop denying it. Stop denying when you feel this instinct or this intuition or this gift where you're like, I just know what people are thinking. It happens. It's a thing, you know, trust it. I just know what's going to happen. I have premonitions. Get into that, you know, because when we deny, you know, again, it keeps us in this place of being fearful of what we truly are, and holding back our power and our light, you know, and it also comes with, you know, I'm a big proponent of truth. You know, that's one of my biggest focuses as a therapist, is that's my greatest honor as a therapist, is to hear others express their genuine truth, because so often people don't feel safe doing so. And there's, you know, the sound of truth is like, it's like music to your ears, right? It's just this beautiful sound where someone's really speaking from their soul without any filters, without any fear. They're just saying like, this is me and this is what it is. And it's so
Yeah.
great. And that also, I believe, is the future, is where people speak the truth, because the only reason we lie is because we're afraid.
Yeah, that's true.
We're afraid of not Yeah. And I challenge people that anybody listening, I challenge you, because I do this to myself daily. Watch yourself. And if you're about to speak and you're about to say something that's not true, that's a lie, ask yourself why.
Yeah.
Are you afraid of losing something, or are you afraid of not getting something that you want? Because those are the only two reasons that we lie.
And I would love to add to that too, to recognize the manifestations in your body when you're about to do it, right? There's that feeling that happens. You get that knot or a burning sensation, right? Like it's part of recognizing yourself as a being of the little things that happen to you. Like when you get excited, what does that feel like? Do you have, does it go into your fingertips? Like how does that show up for you? Because that's a really great way for people to recognize when you're either coming from ego or you're coming from self, right? Like
Yeah.
your ego gives you signs of when you are there, because you get heated and you clench your fists and you're like, you manifest it physically for what you're feeling internally. So
Yes. And that's the exact distinction. I'm also like, I always talk about with clients and any illness, right? It's all about clenching, or when systems are open,
it's the
you're
flow.
doing well. When you clench, you're constricting. Constriction will always cause dis-ease. That's what it is. If you're not at ease, you're
Yep.
nobody wants to do that. And so the more that and that's the divine feminine. The divine feminine is that letting go. The divine feminine is knowing and trusting that things are unfolding in their own time, without any need to force or to pull back. You're just at rest. Yeah. And, we are lacking that. We're very much like, we got to make this happen right now. That's our kind of our mentality. And, it just causes a lot of stress and, constriction.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I love this conversation, and I want people to be able to find you, right? Because I find that what you provide is so unique and it's so needed. So how can people find you?
Yeah. Well, you can jump on my website, which is www.womenawaken.com. And there you can click the little contact me button, and I can do a tarot reading for you. I do tarot readings. I can do that if you just send me a note. I also do spiritual guidance work. I do recovery coaching. I am a therapist. So whatever you're looking for. Also, if you just want to chat, like I just love to talk to people. I also have a podcast, and I'm looking for guests who are, doing some of this divine, feminine, sort of spiritual gift work. So, but also, yeah, if you just want to talk about any of these topics, reach out, and I want to connect with you, because that's what I want to do. As long as I'm here on this planet, I'm looking to connect people. I'm looking to get this movement going. And so I want to find others who are part of our community. Right, Lori?
Yeah, I love that. It's true. And for everyone listening, we've all been impacted by something, and it's changed us. Like that's why you're listening today. And so wherever you are in your journey, just remember there's people like us who have been there. Some people are going to be ahead of you, some people are going to be behind you, and we are all here for the same reason: to live the best life possible and to live it courageously. So know that you're not alone. Know that you have people, like amazing people like Miss Whitney, that are out there to support you. I always got your back. I'm always here. And so we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear about what your thoughts are on this conversation and what you believe as far as energy and flow and the divine feminine and how our world is going today. I would love to hear from you. So definitely, Whitney, thank you so much. I mean, I feel like we could chat for hours. So I appreciate your time today and just being who you are for this world. Thank you. We need you.
Right back at you. Thank you for having me, Laura. This was amazing.